Some huge earnings surprises out there this evening. PANW beat and exceeded expectations. Coinbase beat expectations, and the conference call is going on right now. PANW. So we already can see up here on the post data that we're at 179.60 after closing at 166. So you're up about $13. Now, if we drill into this, we can just see that we've been going straight up the entire time into the conference call, which is really pretty powerful. This is getting tighter and tighter going into the call. Coinbase has been a little wilder with huge swings from 67 all the way back down to 57. If you take a look at where the VWAP on the day was, you can see that we're just sitting right along there as the conference call is going on at this time, and you can see the rejection of the previous VWAP. As far as earnings, right in here, they've reported $1.05 on PANW, Palo Alto Networks, versus the 77-cent estimate. That gave us a 35% surprise, which is not the worst thing in the world, considering the market right now. And now you're looking at earnings came in at $1.05. The estimate was 77 cents, which gives us a 35% surprise. Revenue was reported at 1.65 versus 1.648. You're getting a little bit of a surprise, not as much as you did on the earnings front, which means they're cutting costs. Now, what I like about this is that you're setting up right on this resistance spot where you stop. This 179 has been major resistance. And you can see that we've bonked on it here and here. We can even go back a little further and see how many times we've had an issue where it's been support, and then resistance. So this has been going on for some time. And this is a really powerful area. So getting above that and staying above that would be critical. Coin's implied volatility was well over 10%, and it's doing what it does best, which is just frustrate everybody and sitting right around where it closed. You're up about 75 cents after hours, but what you're really looking for is you were seeing that $10 move after hours and everybody got excited. Now we're flat. But this could have been worse, and quite frankly, I thought it was going to be worse. You came in, reported 246. The estimate was 252, so we actually beat on the earnings front. What was even more surprising was revenue. You came in at 629 million versus the estimate of 587. It's kind of surprising that your revenue is up 7% considering the amount of pressure that cryptocurrencies have been under. Now, a lot's going to be dependent upon the conference call and how they outline what they're going to do in the future. But what we could do is we could look at these two levels. We could look at this 67 level and this 57.60 level and use that as a guide. For now, I don't see the real reason to be doing a lot with this after hours. I'm very curious to how this opens up tomorrow, because this was actually a fairly decent quarter. And a lot of people, myself included, expected it to not be so good considering what's going on in the crypto space. So this is going to be a real bone of contention tomorrow between shorts and longs. For Palo Alto Networks, all we want to do is just watch that, right? Just watch this level right up in here, that we really between 179, 179.50. It's more of an area. But for Coin, getting above that 67 after hours should be somewhat interesting if we can do that tomorrow. Walmart's report was good, where they reported $1.71 versus $1.51, which gave us a 12.6% upside surprise. Revenue was $164 billion versus $159 billion, giving us a 2.68% surprise to the upside. Now, we gapped down because of guidance. But it seems to me that people are starting to understand what some of these companies are doing. And what they're tending to do is they're tending to downplay how good things are going and then beat those expectations. If you take a look at this move down in Walmart, and we can see that the last time that there was a real issue, we were down about 20, 30 points over 20 points in the first day. And then I believe it went to 30 points over a course of like 3 days. Yep, about 30 points in 3 days. So today we gap down, and then people don't believe it as much, and they just get right back involved. And I think this is pretty critical, because a lot of these companies are taking advantage of the current situation, and they are downplaying their success. And I think that institutions are catching on, and this is a classic example. If we look at Walmart pre-market, you can see the gap down right here, and then that first bar, right? So after that first bar opens up, we flip that 143.38. Then you get this high tight flag from this being the flagpole. Flip it and go, push, The retest comes back, flip, this is a 9 EMA, flip it, and then it just was a rip till then. A lot of my thought process was really that we were going to get right there and gap fill, and that's what we did. But then we just got an extra $1 or $2 out of it. So this was a really good trading vehicle today and did very well. Watch the 148 level, because if we can flip that, we have a multi-month base that's just sitting right in here. And if we can get over that, then we could probably push and retest these highs. And I think that's kind of where this is heading. Meta was one we traded in the Alpha Chasers community. Today is the last day to be added to the wait list for the Alpha Chasers community. Simply click the card that's right up here on the top right, and you'll be added to the wait list. Now, if you look at what's going on here, we can see the break, we can see the H. And let's clear everything off so that we can just focus for a moment. Okay. So we're going to clear everything off, and I just want to point this out because this is happening a lot and you can benefit from it. You're having these patterns where you're breaking these lower lows, then you're retesting them, and then the failure. Seems simple enough until you start really looking at what's going on here and saying, well, you have to buy into that level. And technically there's nothing there unless you're going to drill down into about a 1-minute chart. So then you'd be shorting right here on the hope that you're going to come in on a gap down, right? So in other words, to get that short off, no one got that short off. So then you would have gotten the short off the next day on Thursday. It would have gapped you down. You would have been feeling really good about yourself. And then what does it do? Reverses. So now you have an H pattern that is a failed H break with a reversal. And then this is what happened today. This provided an excellent trading opportunity for us. This is the previous close, and that's what we were looking for. Once we got that previous close and we got our reversal, everybody would recognize this as a bullish engulfing. I'll link that video at the end. You can flip there. Watch that video if you want to understand candlestick patterns in a really simple way. Once you flip there, that's it. It was on, and we just rode the trade out and then just scaled out on the way. We actually did fairly well with this trade, capturing a lot of this move. And then once we got this, we were selling and trimming into this actually. And then when it broke here, that was pretty much it for the trade. But it does give you another opportunity usually, right? And it did today. So if you miss it once, it doesn't mean that you don't get another opportunity. Just have patience. Came right back to that level. That is the previous close, and then rallied back up. So there was another trade there. Now, you closed down because the whole market closed down. But I would suggest that you have this. I would have this on my radar. We did not make a lower low, and obviously the market's made a lower low. Anything that did not make a lower low today should be on your radar. Now that would exclude a lot of tech names, but there are a lot of names that actually were making highs. Keep an eye on Lockheed Martin tomorrow. This was a really interesting trade. We can see the DTL right here, downward trend line, how it flipped it. Started to fight right on there. We have a little bit of an island here. Broke down, now we have this island, and now we're up. So I'm curious tomorrow if we're able to get above that 482.72. And if we can, then this could be something that would be significant. This is a trade that we actually put out in the free newsletter, link in description to get the newsletter. See the break coming straight across here? See how you broke down and how we're acting on that break? This is exactly what we talked about. We have this slope and we're making these lower highs, and now we're starting to break down in here. So just watch this. I think that there is more downside here, but this would definitely be on my radar. In regard to the index itself, we said we could probably get to 4,000. I didn't expect it to happen in a day, not that it matters. So we came down to here, and now the question is, where do we go from here? Well, this is not really what you want to see. It's somewhat bearish to be in a position like this where we're rolling over, gapping under a doji right here, and then breaking down. Open is the high, close is the low. It's not really what we want to see. And technically, this would be something that you would expect to just very simply gap down tomorrow. We don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow morning. You have Fed minutes tomorrow, so you could have people positioned differently after hours. You could see people respond favorably after hours. Futures are actually starting to trade a little bit up probably based upon some of the earnings that came out tonight. So we just don't know. Technically, looking at that, you can't possibly think that you're going to rally just by looking at that bar. So you're going to have to assume that at least off the open, there's some kind of pressure. If we take a look at the NASDAQ, straight across. This is major support, and we broke below it. I'm not really crazy about that, and tech was actually weaker. I really just stayed out of the way a lot today and let it come in. The only thing that I would say is there really was not a lot of meat on the bone to try to. Here you are on the SQQ, and let's say that you wanted to trade this today, and you felt that the market was going to plummet. So for me, there's your opening price, and here's your close. So in order to really capture $1 out of that today, you'd have to put this on today, and then you would have made $1. And now your hope is that you come in tomorrow and that the market gets hit again. This is very difficult to do, considering the circumstances and where we're at right now. So you need to be really careful with these kinds of bear ETFs right now. Now we get to look at the VIX, something we haven't had to do for a very long period of time. And you actually see the VIX gap up. To me, this is actually a good thing. To actually see movement in the VIX when we're selling down, that means people are panicking and they're buying puts. That means that this could accelerate to the downside. And you can see that once you start getting up here. Anything over 25, you're definitely going to start seeing more volatility. So I would keep my eye on this end. We talked about this pattern about 2 weeks ago, this 3-bar pattern lifting up. It's called 3 white soldiers. It's a candlestick pattern. And what you want to do is just focus on that flag right there. Now, out of that flag and the way that you're popping up over it, looks to me like we could go a little bit higher. Now we have the death cross right here, and we're back above the 55, and this is the 200. Now, usually with these kinds of crosses, this becomes resistance, and that is exactly what's been happening with the S&P. You can see once we had a death cross on the S&P, that the 200 became resistance. I'm expecting the same thing to happen with the dollar. Please comment on these videos. Let me know if you like this format. I like going over the indexes at the end of the day. I think it's extremely helpful just to kind of get a sense of where we're at. Candidly, you cannot possibly look at what happened today and think that we're just going to miraculously bounce. But with Fed minutes coming out tomorrow, GDP Thursday, PCE Friday, we just don't know. Have a great evening, everyone.